I should tell you that 2 weeks ago today, when I was doing a question corner at Banff, I was handed a little piece of paper saying, "At Peachester, your friends have just passed an encouragement word for you." So I read that out to the people at Banff and everybody enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Yes, gladly, Paddy. I first went to Los Angeles, went up to Loma Linda. I preached at 3 o'clock of the first Sabbath. There were hundreds of people there in the big Campus Hill Church. And if you see it on the YouTube, you'll be very impressed. You'll think I'm a very patriotic man because I got all sorts of flags up. See? I spoke for about an hour. Then I answered criticisms from other theologians for about an hour and questions from the audience as well. Then I had to go to an Adventist Today get-together, and then at 8 o'clock I was back for another meeting, and I spoke for an hour, and then I fielded questions from the audience for another hour. The next day I went in to do 2 TV programs, and with me was a well-known theologian, Fritz Guy, a good friend of mine. Some of his theological thinking is not identical, but he's a very good man. And the issue came up about glacier view, and I was saying that there is a time when, while you agree in essentials unity, non-essentials liberty, and all things charity, there are times you must make a protest. There must even have to be an explosion. And I said this was a time when there had to be an explosion. And to my great surprise, Fritz Guy said, "That's true. We were so settled into error on the investigative judgment, it needed an explosion." So that was to be for a TV showing. I have my doubts whether it will make the program, in as much as Fritz was so open. And then there was another TV program, not quite as controversial, and that one will probably come across. Next day I spent in interviews. John Pauline, I spent with an hour, spent 2 hours with a group of ministers answering questions to them, and Stuart Tyner brought several of his ministers who work with him along to see me, so that was the next day. The next day at 7:30 I was off to Edmonton. That was about 4 to 5 hours in the plane. Then the next day I travelled about 7 or 8 hours by car to Calgary and on to Banff for a wedding rehearsal. You see, the reason that triggered all this, though Jill is to blame or to credit for all the glory, but the reason that triggered all this was that a family we love had a son about to be married, and I'd been a mentor to him for many years. And they wanted me to conduct the marriage. Now, I confessed to them while I was there, I would not make this trip for any other family on earth. I think it would be crazy. But Jill saw sense in it, and she immediately got on to Adventist Today and says, "Dad is coming to America. Do you want him to speak?" So they had me speak for the Hamill Memorial Lecture. Hamill was the former president of Andrews University, and they have recurring speakers of some significance or notoriety speak in the series. And so they immediately said, "Yes, we want him." And I said, "But my original idea was to speak on, this is my creed, this is my belief, this I believe." They said, "All right, we'll put that on at night." So you come and you speak on the forensic theory of justification, which they knew was hated in Loma Linda. That's to be your subject, the forensic theory of justification. And then at night you're to speak on this I believe, see. So that was done there. Then on to Banff and the review for a wedding. I was tottering on my feet, feeling like fainting because such things are very prolonged. It took about 4 times as long to do the review, the preparation, the run-through, as the actual wedding the next day. But anyway, survived that. Then had to go to an evening with all the participants, which lasted quite a while. And then the next day, I gave the chief marriage address to the young people. Just briefly, I'll tell you 1 or 2 things that was said. That marriage has different connotations, that to some people it's the tinkling of a silver bell over green fields, to others the croaking of a raven over a cemetery. And to others it is the sound of a bugle calling disputants to arms. And then I asked the question, well, why these different views? And I said, well, because most marriages don't work. Why don't most marriages work? Well, several reasons. Most men, not most women, but most men marry purely on the basis of physical attraction. And there should be physical attraction, but it's never enough. It's like two people forming a business on the basis they both like playing table tennis. The trouble is, you don't always want to play. Sometimes you can't play, and sometimes you want to play with someone else. Then I said, but the main reason for disaster in marriage is very simple. It's not the in-laws or the outlaws, it's selfishness. Unless in a marriage there is continual sacrificial giving, possession will bring indifference, and the love of the marriage will gradually ooze away. Selfishness is the main reason for disasters in marriage. Then my next point was this. It takes 3 to get married, and most people don't know that. They think there are only 2 of them. But it takes 3 to get married. And I talked about Cana, how when the wine ran out at the wedding, fortunately Jesus was there. And his mother said, whatever he says to you, you do it. Then I talked about the wine in marriage is always running out. And we need Jesus as the 3rd member. I talked about the ultimate sadness of life is that nothing lasts. The bloom of youth so soon disappears. The vigour of midlife is so brief. All natural goods perish. Riches take wings. Fame is a breath. Love, unless it's Christian, is a cheat. Can things whose end is dust and disappointment be the real goods we require? We need a life not correlated with death. We need a good that transcends the goods of nature. Therefore, we need a 3rd partner for our marriage, Jesus. He can supply when the wine runs out, and the wine always runs out.